So we're still letting folks in. So we'll give a few more minutes for that. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining our panel discussion today on what do galleries want. My name is Tiffany, and I work with Triangle Artworks as a program assistant, among other things that I do, and we welcome you here today. I want to ask just a little bit of Zoom kind of housekeeping. Please keep yourself on mute. We do have a full house of participants. The program will follow with some moderated questions to our panel, and then we will allow some time at the end for questions from the audience. We ask that you put your questions in chat just to kind of help us keep track of those things, particularly if we are not able to get to all the questions within this time frame. We will make an effort to follow up on some of those questions if we are not able to get around to them in this session. So I'll go ahead and start and introduce Angela Lombardi. She is our moderator for today, and I do need to make you co-host so that you can see some of the questions that are coming in, Angela, as well. Angela is the Director of Outreach and Audience Engagement at the North Carolina Museum of Art, and she leads a dynamic team of programmers who create public events for all ages. And we're so happy to have her here join us today as our moderator. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Angela.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. It's wonderful to be here.
Oh. Muted.
Uh-oh, we lost your audio, Angela, if you can hear us.
You're off. You're off again, Angela.
Angela, you're muted. There you go. Yep.
Let's try that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, you're good.
All right. Let's try again. Thank you so much, Tiffany. And thank you, everyone who's in this discussion. I'm really excited to be asking some questions. And I think that I get a lot of questions in my position at the museum. I work with teens and college students and a lot of studio artists. And, you know, I get the next level questions about how do I get representation in a museum? And we all know that, you know, the gallery world and the ecosystem of the art world in Raleigh is pretty particular. And so I'm really excited to have some experts in the field here today. And I would love to have them introduce themselves to you. So let's start with James Lamantia.
Hey, everybody. Great to be here. Started out as an artist like most of you. So I grew up in New York City and managed a gallery in Madison Avenue for the first 5 years after college. And then when I was 26, I opened my first gallery. That gallery is still in existence. It's coming up on 35 years, I guess. I also have a gallery here in Raleigh, which is our youngest gallery. And we are also in Sarasota, Florida. And we just purchased a building in Sarasota. So we're building out a new gallery space down there. So I have the luxury of being both a gallery owner, an entrepreneur, as well as being an artist. So I can appreciate when I talk to artists what they go through and what they expect. So I have the best of both worlds. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, James. Wendy Kesterson.
Hi, my name is Wendy. We have the Centerpiece Gallery. The gallery is a second generation business. My mother, Bev, started it out of our house, I guess, in 1988. We moved to our current location, and in the past 8 years, my brother and I acquired it from my parents, and we have been quite successful in the corporate and residential industry in the area.
Thank you so much, Wendy. Caitlin Carey.
Hi, I'm so honored to be here. I'm probably the greenest gallery owner here, although all of a sudden it's been almost 3 years. So what am I saying? I'm also an artist, and I gave up a studio at Artspace during the pandemic and tried working at home and decided that wasn't for me. So I rented a small space, about 400 square feet in Oakwood, and opened the Pocket Gallery, where I do show my own work, and I also sit and work, do my work, but I also represent about 20 to 25 local artists and makers, and it's been a really fun adventure, and I'm excited to talk a little bit about it and also to learn from the other people on this panel. So welcome to y'all, and thanks.
Thank you. Do we have Dara Baldwin?
I'm not sure. Is she here?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Dara Baldwin. I'm the gallery coordinator for the Durham Art Guild. And can y'all hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome, cool. So my job is to do all the curatorial work at DAG, and including installs, communicating with artists, and setting up schedules with our satellite partners. So we have 2 galleries, coming up on 3 soon. And we also have a Art at Work program. So we're in other businesses around the Triangle as well. And DAG is a nonprofit, and we're in our 75th year this year. So that's pretty exciting for us all. But yeah, I'm excited to be here and happy to share my thoughts from a slightly different gallery perspective.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. My first question has to do with being a studio artist myself, and early on trying to understand what the, why don't artists all make it into galleries? Point blank, number one, how do artists decide which gallery is right for them? Because I think that some of the beginning artists, you might be making like very abstract collages, and then you say, hey, there's a gallery down the street, why don't they want to show my work? And then you find out it's a gallery that represents work from antiques, from 17th century etchings, and you say, oh, but it's a gallery, I thought that maybe I could get in. So I want to understand from each and every one of you, and we'll go in turn again, what is the particular ethos of your gallery? Like if you were to broadcast that out to artists, and so that they could really understand the type of work that you seek to represent, how would you broadcast that to artists? And how is that different from how you put that out in the world to collectors? And we'll start with James.
James, it's a great question. I think that one of my artists, Rolinda Stotts, was brilliant the way she got into our gallery. She is originally from Colorado, lives in Nashville now, but she targeted Main Street galleries in each state and pinpointed galleries, commercial galleries that were retail galleries, that were for-profit galleries, and that galleries that didn't show work that she had. So it was that she did. So it was important that she made sure that she brought something new to the table. What she also did, which I thought was brilliant, was when she made the connection, she then sent a small group of work to us and actually made an appointment to fly in to discuss the work live. So not only did she get the work in front of us, which was brilliant, it was costly, but brilliant. She then took a trip to come to see us, and her personality and her talent sold us. But I think the real key is to make sure that, like, to your point, if you do collage, I don't necessarily want to be in a gallery that's a collage gallery. I want to be unique. I want to stand out. So I'd want to make sure I pinpoint galleries that are that my work would be unique, and also that my work would sell in, because I want to make a point that artists, like I always say, we don't have any starving artists in our galleries. All our artists earn very good living, and it's important that they go into the idea that I'm going into this as a business. I want to earn a living as an artist, and that helps you to really pinpoint where you want to be.
Thank you. Wendy.
So our gallery, since we've been in business for so long in this area, our customers are a focal point. So what drives us is, do you produce the work that will cater to our customers? So a lot of times, yes, I will see amazing work come through, but I know myself, I cannot sell it to the customers that I have. I might be able to grow my customer base at some point, but just to piggyback off what James said, it is imperative that you as an artist make gains. So if I can't do that for you, then that relationship is not going to be there. But on the flip side, if we can grow it together, we can find the audience that gravitates towards your work. Let's try it out. Let's create that relationship, and let's see what we can do to grow it. Then the second thing that I really hone in, I'm sure all the gallery owners do, is the relationship that I create with the artist. That is so important to me, that we continuously communicate and grow, learning each other's ins and outs, what works, what doesn't, what the expectations are as a gallery owner and an artist. So it's a lot of, let's just chat it out.
Thank you. Caitlin.
Yeah, I really like what you just said. I think that the relationships in my, in the work that I have in my gallery, I don't want to ever call it nepotism, but it does, what I choose often comes out of some relationship that I've formed, either outside of the gallery or inside the gallery, with an artist who approaches me with work that, first of all, I have to like, if not love, but also have a feeling for how the relationship is going to go, how how committed the artist is to it's always a mutual effort to sell the work, and there's a lot about the artist's enthusiasm and interest in making a positive relationship where we work together to sell the work. It's my job, and that's the reason why artists are giving me a part of what the retail price is, but I can't do it without a lot of collaboration.
Thank you. Dara.
With the Drum Art Guild, we're a member-based organization, so only members can apply to put in an application for an exhibition. So after that, we have a set of rotating judges every year that chooses from that pool of applicants. We try to be transparent and unbiased. So we have different people pick different work. So hopefully different styles are included in that, and that there's less chance of the same work being chosen over and over again. And we also have we try to make sure that if you've had an exhibit in the last 2 or 3 years, that you don't get picked again and again and again. So that's our way that we do it. For our other groups, we have partners who choose artists based on theme or something that connects with their business. So it's a little bit different, but anyone can become a member. So there's a chance for everybody, really. That's what we try for, at least.
Thank you so much. Well, that all leads to my next question, which I think some of you are already thinking about too, because we've heard about an artist that sent in the work. And James, I saw in the chat that you agreed to see it before she just sent it to you, which is good. We've had instances where people come up to the welcome desk at the museum with a painting and say, "Can you hang this in the museum?" I'm like, that's not how it works. But you didn't know that, so you tried, and good for you. So what is your, Caitlin talked about relationships, Wendy knows her clients. And so what about the approach is important to you? So as an artist approaches you, what is your preferred method to meet and start that relationship with an artist? Go ahead, James.
James? It always starts with email, because the main reason is, to your point, if someone walks in with a painting and says, "What do you think of this?" It's hard to be honest to that person. I don't want to say, it's hard to be honest, let's just say. So by sending an email, it becomes very neutral. And because we have 3 galleries and soon 4, it's important that we get it out to each gallery, because each gallery has its own flavor, its own theme. So I've learned very early on as the business gallery owner that it's not me who will know whether an art will sell or not. It's the people on the floor in each galleries. So it's important that I get their feedback. So by having an email sent to us, it makes it anonymous, that people just look at the work unaffected by the artist, and then I can get the true opinion of what they think, whether they could sell it or not.
Great, thank you. Wendy.
Same thing. It's going to be through an email, and then I have to have an understanding of how prolific they are. Is this body of work just their best work? Is this body of work, where did this come from? Was it curated at one point? Is it sold? Is it available? Price point. So these, and a lot of times artists don't know what they need to sell for. So what have you sold for in the past? What do you feel comfortable with? But definitely getting that email, having a body of work, understanding if they're prolific or not, and then a biography of where they've shown or where they've sold.
Wonderful, thank you. Caitlin.
I guess my situation is slightly different, since I am representing only artists local to the area. I feel it's really important for me to that the artists begin by coming to the gallery or in some other way assessing what's going on there. I feel like, an email, of course, is the best way. And I definitely don't want anyone walking in the door with their work for the same reason that James mentioned, which is that it's absolutely so terrible to have to deal with that on the spot. And it's not good for either party. It's, it's too high pressure. And I think that, yeah, the approach, it should feel, I don't want to ever feel pressured by the way it goes down. So it's a gentle dance between me and someone who's approaching. And I think the first rule for anyone would be, even if you're approaching an out-of-state gallery, to do all the detective work that you can to understand what kind of work the gallery is showing, and also the sort of whatever you can find out about the culture of the gallery, or the what the owner or managers like.
Thank you. Dara, how does that differ for you?
I probably sound like a broken record soon, but since we do take, we have a yearly membership fee where anyone has the option to join our group of members. We try our very best to get a hold of the return emails and meet with people. We like to hear since we're a community organization, we value talking to people and figuring out how we can help them, connect them to other artists, even if we're not able to provide them with the assistance that they need to develop their work or get proper criticism that they need. So, but like everyone else said, email is great. Email's a great start. we're not always in the gallery too, so it would be unfortunate to come in and bring some work and no one's there too. So that's great. We try to get back to people and help as much as we can. But again, there's not really. Oh, yeah, sorry. No, sorry. There's not really an exact theme we're looking for, so we try to help people as we can again.
Thank you. And so, knowing that your situation is a bit different, how is it that you, and then we'll go kind of reverse in this question. What is the biggest mistake an artist can make as they submit something for your consideration? What makes you just close that email and shake your head and say, oh, I wish they had done it differently? For you, Dara.
Oh, that's tough. I think very rarely I've gotten an overly aggressive email. I think that's the only thing that I can think of that would make me not want to talk to someone in person at all. I'm not, well, at least our team doesn't. I think sometimes people get discouraged after not having work, like applying for things over and over and over again and not having success, whether with us or anywhere else in general. And sometimes people get frustrated, things like that. But I think starting on a good foot with someone via email. In college, I've heard so many times over and over again recently that to like watch your email tone, be professional when you address people via email, that even if you are frustrated, like just be succinct, be understandable. Don't, because I think when you start off that way, it just leaves a bad taste, and then I wouldn't prioritize a person who's who's starting off like trying to push me in a certain direction is what I would say. I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
It did. And I mean, I think I was also thinking of some submissions that I've seen that have, beautiful work that's photographed terribly, that type of mistake as well.
Yes. Yeah, that happens. That happens a lot. I've also seen some submissions for work where there's only like 3 pictures or something like that. And for an exhibition, that's not going to work. Like we need a little bit more, we need a higher degree of representation to determine that you have enough work for a solo exhibition or that it makes sense together, things like that.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Caitlin, what would you say?
Yeah, the photography is a really great point, to be sure. If we're trying to evaluate something via email, it's just impossible if you're looking at terrible photographs. So put a priority on that. It's hard, it can be hard if you don't personally have the skills, but it's worth hiring out to get some good photographs of your work if need be. That said, I think most people have the technology now to do it themselves, but it has to be a careful operation. Yeah, and I'd say again that as far as the tone of approach, I mean, I would just say come at it professionally, calmly. Not, I've definitely been approached in sort of aggressive ways by artists, and that never feels good, and expect some back and forth too. Like, I think it might not happen the first time you try. I feel like there's a sometimes these relationships develop over a period of months of, you know, getting to know someone when they drop in, or you know, I might look at the work once and I'm never going to say don't approach me again. I would say be persistent, but gentle.
Great, thank you. Wendy.
So what I like to do is I do have someone that curates the art, and she passes along emails if she thinks, you know, maybe this is something that's going to fit with us. And the first thing that I do is research what they do. I Google it, I research it, I spend time with it. If it's something that I want to pursue, I pick up the phone and I contact them, I call them, I go to their studio. If that's, you know, here or Tampa or wherever it is, I get in the car and I go and meet and see what can happen, see what transpires, see if their art is photographed properly or photographed really, really well, and then try and establish the relationship to bring them into the gallery.
Wonderful, thank you. And James.
I'm just chuckling. I wrote a note because this is like a phone game. Like when it got to me, I was trying to remember what the first question was, but I think I got it. Being an artist, I'm very conscious of my response to an artist. So it's always a soft response. Like, I understand how vulnerable you are sending your work in an email. I've never gotten an email that was offensive. I have had emails where people have said, I've shown here, 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 here. I'm excellent here and excellent there. And already that is a turnoff to me. Like, there's a point where you want to put out what you've done without being cocky about it, I guess. And in terms of photography, I forget what the expression is, but you have like a few seconds to make a good first impression or something to that effect. For us, it doesn't have to be professionally photographed. If someone takes pictures with their iPhone and sends it to us, we get a sense immediately of whether, you know, what the quality of the work is. So while it'd be nice to have professional photographs, for us, we could tell in a heartbeat.
Great, thank you. The next question is, I'm going to send to Wendy, because you talked about working with corporate clients, and what are the unique considerations you take for those clients in particular?
Right, every situation is a little bit different. Healthcare, I'll speak to that first because we're so strong in the area. Generally, people are looking for minorities, they're looking for artists, they're looking for a collection that necessarily increase in value over time, but there will be an appreciation for the viewer, not only the patient, the family member, and the hospital staff. It invokes something in them. So that's what we're looking for to begin with. And then as that comes into play, of course, we're looking at colors and values, what works in the space, what works with the fire department, all these things that I have to take into account. And then I research the artist, go and find them. Sometimes they come to me and say, these are the works that I have. Do you think they'll work in your corporate setting? So healthcare is one big basket. And then we also work with property management companies all over the United States, where we're just simply filling the space, providing something that's a little different than what you're going to see in the next building. So grandiose scale, can you supply this size of art? Can you install? All these things go into it.
And what is the average size of art that a corporate client would like?
Let's see, I drove down to Florida and I installed one piece that was 15 feet by 8 feet. But then on the flip side, I've done, 5 inches by 5 inches. So it's the gamut. But they're always looking for something that's a little different than what they normally see.
Wonderful, thank you. Would any of the other panelists like to jump in on that corporate client question?
I would just add that for us, we're actually a niche business that we don't do any corporate work. It's very rare that we get, and like where Wendy's business is probably more corporate forward. That's really cool. I think for us, it's more collector based. You know, we build collectors and collections for collectors. So I've found over the years that when we started to spread ourselves thin, we lost control of our business. So I can't really add other to the corporate end of it.
Interesting. Okay, thank you. So we've talked a lot about email submissions. Are you all actively hunting artists yourself? Are you out there? Are you looking at websites? Do you look at Instagram? How are you all doing your own research and hunting for artists? Go ahead, James.
You see me nodding my head, right?
Yeah.
You know, we're in a business that, you know, the art world, so for some reason, the art world often has a flavor that it's not a business you make money in. And I don't know why, but like people will walk into galleries sometimes, not my galleries, but sometimes mine, and they'll say, does this work sell? Like, do people buy this things? Like, there's something about an artist that it's terrible, but artists are not supposed to be making money. So to that point, we've always focused on nationally known artists. All the artists that we get behind, for the most part, are artists that show in every state in the country. And by that, it gives validation for why we charge what we charge. When they walk in, if they say, oh, this is X price, if they go online, they'll find it in other galleries at comparable prices. So it's important for us that we're always searching comparable type galleries, and being in business like Wendy, you know, we're in business so it's the same amount of time. You know, we have friends around the country that I can call up and say, who's doing well for you, and why are they doing well? And then if they're doing well there, doesn't always mean that it'll do work well in ours, but more often than not, it does, because there's a certain national appeal that we focus on.
Great, thank you. Wendy.
Yeah, so ding, that was right on point. A lot of times, because we have grown and we have seen this business evolve from Art Expo New York to the internet exploding, we run the gamut. I was up at Expo last month. Then I was at Artspleasure this weekend. I have someone always looking through Instagram, social media. What kind of artists can we find? Doesn't matter if they're local or all the way across, across the world. We're always looking for something. And the nice thing is that we, just like James said, we have our friends, we have our artist friends, we have our gallery friends, and we're in constant communication with them, trying to find what's new and what's different, to not only sell and be our business, we can now support the livelihood of these artists.
Thank you. Caitlin.
Sorry,
I can't see Caitlin.
my Zoom dropped out for a minute there, so I'm back.
Okay.
And the question is, where am I discovering the artists that I show? Is that kind of it? Yeah.
And yeah, you explained a little bit that it's through your community and through people coming in. So is there any other, you said on Instagram, do you go to art fairs? What do you do?
I do, and I also go to a lot of local openings and to to view group shows. And for me, this would be just a sort of another encouragement to artists to get their work seen in whatever ways they can, and to show up for art events as well, even if your work is not being shown. I'm at a lot of them. I might see you there. We might strike up a conversation. We might talk about the work that we are seeing. So yeah, for me, it's a very local, organic way of finding work.
Thank you. Okay, my next question has to do with each of your commitment to displaying a diversity of representation with the artists that you represent and the gallery shows that you promote. How do you ensure that you do have that diversity of representation as you plan your gallery calendar, as you plan the use of your space? James, would you like to speak to that?
Sure. It's funny. As you were asking the question, my eyes were looking around the room, and in the gallery here right now, we have female artists, we have deceased artists, we have gay artists, we have a little bit of everything. But when you look at the work, you can't tell. You're not going to walk up to that and go, oh, that's a gay artist, so that's a female artist. So the short answer to that is we look for the quality of work. The quality of work is what is most important to us that we show. The artist's background, I feel like if it factors into what we show, it skews what we show. And I just believe getting behind work that you love and you're focused on promoting that artist and building a brand for that artist and having them have a successful career outweighs, what their background is.
Thank you. Wendy?
So we're a little different. Our gallery space is tucked behind in a shopping center where no one goes. If you want to come to our space, you will hunt us down and you'll find us, and you'll probably get lost and you'll call the gallery trying to figure out where we're at. That's very intentional for us. We want people that want to come to the gallery, arrive at the gallery, and get all the attention that they deserve when they come into the gallery. So what's showcased, what you see when you walk in is just a beautiful collection of work. And then what's behind the scenes, you'll see that on our website. We have quite an extensive collection of work that we can bring out. We can bring it to your home. So it's not just what is sitting on the floor. Now, as far as shows go, we do 2 main shows a year. We do a spring show and we do a fall show. We usually roll out an artist, and to exactly what James is saying, it's got to be the caliber of work that will hold the show. Again, it's a business. So just because your platform is whatever it is, you still have to hold the show, and we both have to be making money off of it. So that's where we're just a little bit different. You're not just going to come in and look at artwork. You're here for a reason.
Thank you. Dara?
So before COVID, DAG had a diversity and equity inclusion committee, and we did meet actively to discuss promoting artists who are historically marginalized communities. So we, while judges choose our artists to exhibit work, we do try to make sure that there are BIPOC artists who have disabilities who are also in the running. As was said before, quality of work is important. We're not, I think that putting an artist up sorry, I try to think of how to say this. So we want high quality work to be promoted. We just don't, we don't want to just choose someone based on aesthetics. We do want there to be an idea of both going on, that we are promoting people's work, but we're also looking for our judges are looking for high quality work also. So those things are kind of we try to intertwine those things. But we do work with, we work with the Black on Black project that's based in the area. We have an artist in residence program that they sponsor to promote a Black artist in residence, to make sure that they have a secure space to create work and have that opportunity. So we're trying with the diversity and equity part. It's just, yeah.
Thank you.
A little, yeah.
Thank you very much. I want to make sure that we leave time for questions from the audience as well. And so I know that you all have been active in the chat, and panelists have been graciously jumping in and answering questions. Was there anything that came up in the chat, Wendy, that you'd like to speak to a little bit more broadly?
Let's see. There was so Chris just asked a really good question. I'm assuming it's a he, but talking about photography. Photography is a niche market, and it's difficult for me because I just don't have a great understanding of photography. I have a really good understanding of multi-mediums, oils, acrylics, different things like that. And so I haven't really explored the world of photography. If you want to get into that world, you have to go find the galleries that do that. And you have to ask that question to them. So asking that question to me, I can't help you with that, but definitely do your research finding those galleries.
James.
Yeah, I'm right on with Wendy. It's funny, years ago in our New York gallery, we did an equestrian show. We had 3 photographers who photographed wild horses from the Outer Banks to Portugal. And the work was amazing. And I think during the show, we didn't sell a single piece. And what happened was people would come up with their iPhones or their phones and they go, look at a photo I took. And to the average person, it's pretty darn good. To the photographer, they say, yeah, well, I would do this or I would adjust that. But the problem is technology and phones has made it so, they're so good that it's hard to compete. So I think, to Wendy's point, photographers need to be in photography galleries where they're drawing the collectors who appreciate the work that goes into it.
Exactly.
Great, thank you.
Can-
Oh, go ahead.
For Chris's question, Chris, I think the work, I think the theme of the work was very important. That I think photography is, I think people, because photography is so easy for people now that everyone has phones and things like that. I think that when you see an artist who is going and picking a specific subject to work with and is building this story out of that subject, that I think that tends to stand out versus kind of very, even if the photos are well done, they have nice depth of field, they use the 3/4 rule, things like that. But I think the theme and the presentation and bringing to light things that aren't exactly commonplace matter mostly.
So I saw a couple of questions about art fairs and wonder if you all participate in art fairs and how you decide which artists you will be bringing. Do you tend to find new artists that you'd like to represent in that way? Talk a little bit about that world for us. Go ahead, James.
Okay. We used to do Art Expo New York every year. And over the years, what we found was years ago, the art fairs, we got into it to set up corporate accounts where we represent artists. So we represent artists that we sell to other galleries as well, not corporate to the point like where Wendy is talking, where it's hospitality. We represent artists that we sell to other galleries. So we would do the fairs as an opportunity to meet new dealers around the country and build those relationships. And over the years, art fairs have become more retail oriented and expensive, and the shipping and the unions that you have to deal with, that I know a lot of gallery owners, friends of mine, who almost survive on the fairs. To us, it's become too expensive, and it's really, we like to focus in our local collectors.
Thank you. Alyssa in the chat, sorry if I'm not saying your name correctly. Alyssa, there's a great question just about the ecosystem of Raleigh and galleries here in Raleigh. There are a lot of artists, there are not a lot of commercial galleries. I know that I've spoken to artists as well that have her same concerns about needing to go to New York or Miami or even Washington, D.C., a bigger city, in other words, to sell and be seen. What are y'all's commitments to Raleigh as an area to be selling art? And do you find many collectors here?
Wendy and I are both smiling because I would jump right into that, but I'll let you go first, Wendy, if you want.
Great.
There's twofold. So first of all, when you commit to our gallery, you have to commit to a certain radius. A lot of Raleigh artists don't want to do that because they have friends and family and collectors that are right here. So money speaks. We just want to stay right here and we want to be collected right here. That's one. The second is, yeah, you can be seen in New York, you can be seen wherever. I do a LA art show, art fair. I have one artist that I represent there. And that didn't open a huge world for him. He acquired one more gallery. So if you're going to sell in this area, you have to be committed and you have to have that relationship with the gallery. And I have to be able to sell your work. So yeah, it's tough because you want galleries to thrive, and Raleigh is a tough industry to be in.
For myself, I would tell every artist on this call to think globally. One thing that I'm looking around the room of this space, and I could tell you here only one of the artists represents themselves. I think Raleigh's great, but you should be thinking outside of Raleigh. So we have artist representatives. This is another level. I mean, we could do a webinar on having artist representatives. I personally don't believe that artists should be representing themselves. I believe that they should have someone whose job is to get them out there, and that's their skill set. We all have our skill sets, and with artists, often it's being creative and it's not necessarily promoting their own work and getting their work out there. So I would almost, I mean, Raleigh's great. I mean, Raleigh's got a lot of opportunities as far as I could see, but we're a whole country and a nation. I mean, in a world. I found an artist on Long Island about 10 years ago, and we started to brand him. And it's a short, long story. We got him into 3 galleries around the country. Then I got him into 40 galleries. And then one day we were in Spain, sitting on a balcony, drinking wine because he was having an exhibition in Spain, looking out over the Mediterranean. And he said to me, when you met me, did you ever think this could happen? And my answer was, yes, that was the goal of that. And he's having a great career. So think outside of Raleigh and consider finding someone to represent you, because that's their job. It's worth giving up a percentage of your sales, even if it's another percentage of your sale, to get someone to do the legwork for you.
There are also the business people behind it. You need to be working and doing your thing. And when you have somebody that can represent you, a gallery or the middleman, whatever it is, they will create the success. You create the creativity, you create what you do, and then hand it off to the person who knows what doing the business side of it looks like.
So this is coming up a lot in the chat about how do you find a representative? Are there representatives that you all trust and that you work with, that you would recommend? How do artists go about funding that? You said the percentage, obviously, but then also where are these representatives? How do you find them?
I find them at art fairs. Like they'll still go. Wendy may use Delajou. Do you use Delajou, Wendy?
No.
Yeah. Oh, you don't? Okay.
Anthony's a great guy.
Okay. Well, there are groups that would take half of the people on this panel on the call and represent them. So there are groups out there. They do the art fairs. Usually the fairs, when you go there, they'll have 5 or 6 different artists that they represent. If it's not just a gallery and they're like a publishing company, those are people I would look into. I would look into art publishers. But I also, people could reach out to me directly. I could connect them with representatives that might be good for that particular work. But they're out there. It takes a little legwork for sure.
And you're not going to get your full price. You have to realize that, just like James said before, you're gonna get the cut. It's just going to take some time. So if you want to reach out to Studio 57, it's Delajou or Progressive Fine Art or Profile. All those guys are out there. They've been doing it for years, and they've been doing it as long as we have. And they're footing it all over the country trying to sell your work. But it's costly.
Wonderful, thank you. Caitlin, any thoughts on that?
Nope, I'm just taking notes.
Okay, great. We have some questions in the chat about, different forms of artwork. We also have, that galleries might be looking, and I'm assuming that you, with your relationship with your clients, could inform that, if there's someone that really loves Renaissance inspired work and will collect that. Is that case by case, or is that something that of a gallery that represents all of that work? So maybe making that a little bit more general of a question. If you have someone that is really specific in the style of artwork that they make and it tends towards realism, do you see that moving a lot in the art world right now, and how does that happen for you?
In other words, what is a movement right now that is popular? Is that the
Sure,
question?
that's a good way to go about it. Yeah.
Okay, sure. I would say larger than smaller is big right now. I mean, the way the homes are being designed now, a lot of artists work small because they're confined to spaces in their homes that they can create works. But what's big right now, what's trending in our galleries, we see it is big. Like, people have large walls, they're looking for an impact piece. They don't necessarily want to have a collection of small works. They want to invest in a large piece. Forget subject. It could be realism. It could be abstract. But I would say right now, the trend that we've seen over the past at least 3 years is larger works.
Thank you. All right, another question. I'm going to try to get fast at this point.
Can I answer that one real quick?
Yeah.
So we just had a show for an amazing artist, Joshua Smith, of relatability. He created a body of work where he traveled. Our clients, I knew all the clients who had traveled to those places. We had a personal event where his interpretation of those places was showcased all over this gallery. We had collectors. They came, they met, they had dinner with him, all these things. So maybe you could take a spin, but that is working really, really well for us, where we're creating that relationship. I keep hitting relationship, but it's that where they walk into that painting and they feel that painting, and that's what's doing really well for us right now.
Great, thank you. Question: is it important for your artists to have an MFA?
Not for us.
All right, that was easy. Okay,
Definitely not
Just
for
make
us
it
as
work.
well.
Awesome. Okay. Is there anything? Let's see. You guys answered that really fast. In terms of building a relationship with museums, how often are you sending through the work that you do, maybe with the representatives or your direct relationship with curators at museums? How does that tend to work for you as a gallerist? James.
Honestly, we have zero experience at this point working, even after 35 years. We found that museums, depending on the shows that we have, will often send people to the galleries, but we haven't been proactive in trying to get our artists into museums. It's just never come across our table.
Okay.
But it's interesting. I'd love to know, how that happens, and also the economics of that, honestly, because that part fascinates me more than anything.
So our gallery has done it in a couple different ways. So we have done exhibitions for the Pastel Society, the Fine Art Society, Artist Guilds. We've had pencil artist, sketch artist go to a third world country. Her story, her journey. She created a body of work. We showcased the body of work at the gallery for an extended amount of time, and it was picked up by a museum. So we've done it that way. It is, it's not a business endeavor. It's more just a love of art. And so when somebody comes to me and says, "Can we do this at your gallery?" I for sure. It just is. It pulls on your heartstrings a little bit, but you also see the value and the quality of just beautiful, fine art.
Thank you. There was an earlier question about showing installation-based work, and how often do you do that versus 2D or 3D, traditional sculpture, painting, photography?
So we do.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, just jump right in. We do that all the time. We have a number of different artists that work in ceramics, and they also are, realism, abstract, 2D, 3D, and we definitely encourage it, and we use it all the time because it's it creates the relationship. Oh, I have that artist on my wall, and it's also on my table, and now they've created that bond with the artist. So yeah, we definitely love that in our gallery.
Great. And
For us, it would always, it would be event driven. Like for us, we open this gallery up to any installation artist, all of our galleries, if they want to do an event, if they want, whether it's a performance piece, something like that. I always consider our galleries as event driven galleries. So we're completely open to it. And it would be, it's run the gamut over the years, from music to dance to readings and incorporating art at the same time. So when you say installation, that's what comes to mind for us. We've also learned that over the years that people run out of space with the wall space as collectors. So that's why our new gallery that we're opening is only a 3-dimensional gallery. That gallery is only going to be showing fine art glass exclusively. So it's going to be 1,800 square feet, 2 levels of just glass sculpture, so that we can get to the people who go, I don't have any more wall space.
I want to go there.
yeah,
It's going to be, it's in Sarasota, Florida. We've been building it out for a year now, but we're hopefully opening in another month or 2.
Right.
Fabulous. Okay, so we're just about to the end of our time here. We have 4 more minutes. And what I'd love to do is just have each of you give your, top bit of advice to an artist wanting to get into a gallery if they've never had representation before. So let's start reverse order. Let's go with Caitlin first.
Okay, let's see, am I unmuted? Yeah.
Yes.
I think that the top advice I have is again to do your best to initiate some kind of a relationship with the gallery before you hit them with a request or that for me, at least the way my business operates, that's going to be kind of critical. Some in the chat, someone was talking about framed and versus unframed, and I wanted to address that. Several people said, oh, you can come unframed because we do framing. But for me, I guess maybe this is to do with being a smaller, more starter level gallery. I definitely need to emphasize that the work needs to be, if not framed, then ready to hang, beautifully presented, ready to collect. A strong focus from the artist on if it's not, if you're not going to great expense of framing yourself, at least real tidy, easy to hang, easy for us to hang, that kind of thing. Attention to detail.
Great, thank you. Dara.
I'm with
Top
Caitlin. With the framing, there have been a couple of times where people's work has come unfurled and fallen off the wall, and that's more of a you've been accepted or it's a community show type deal. But I think those things do carry on, and if something like that happens, then it's now associated like your piece is the one that fell off the wall kind of thing. So just it doesn't have to be professionally done as long as it's safe. We have volunteers that install work. Like, I don't want anything to fall, like something falling on them or something getting broken for some reason like that isn't it's not great. So that's my best advice too, is make sure it's safe for you and for everyone putting up your work.
Thank you very much. Very important. Wendy.
The question was, what is the takeaway here? Biggest sound of advice is for me to create the relationship and be okay with the failures, because the failures are the times that you're going to learn. If you come into the gallery and you don't get what you want, you absolutely learn something from it.
Wonderful advice. Thank you. James.
To every artist, I would say to just be more confident in yourself and in your work than you may be. I think don't sell yourself short. That's so important, that when you present your work, that you present it with confidence. And for us, finally, I like to see a focus Often I get portfolios where maybe a landscape and a portrait and a floral painting, and then I say to myself, where is this person really, panning out? So when you're presenting, when you're approaching a gallery, when you're making that presentation, this is what you're known for, and always show your best work. Don't show that, oh, I can do a little bit of this, I could do a little bit of that. Just show us what you feel most confident in.
Fabulous advice. Well, thank you all so very much for giving us all of these pearls of wisdom. There's a lot to think about here. Thank you all who participated for your questions. I really appreciate you tuning in, and keep making art. Follow that advice, and we'll see you in a gallery soon, hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to all the panelists and to you, Angela, as well. Hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day. Stop the recording now.